to another Beyond Sport podcast. I'm Mark and I'm delighted to be joined by my colleagues as usual, Craig and Nathan, and we're delighted to be joined by student podcaster Katie. And our guest speaker today is a lady that needs no introduction to Club Doncaster Sports College. She plays for Barnsley Rugby Club and she is a NHS project tutor with Wakefield College. Plays rugby at a high standard in the women's Northern One. She's going to tell us about her experience of mental health, tell us all about her experience of playing rugby and her job role and how she fits her busy schedule around that. Parmsy, I'm going to call you Parmsy because that's how I know you. We can't have a podcast with you without talking about rugby. So have you always had an interest in playing rugby? You know, what got you involved in the first place?
Well, I used to play football, the sport which you all prefer, apart from Katie, obviously. And I really enjoyed football. I just felt like I wanted to do something. To be honest, I weren't that good. And I thought, I want to do something that I'm a little bit better at. And I always fancied rugby. So I tried it out at school, really enjoyed it, but carried on playing football because of my friends. And then played it at college, in a regional tournament where we played down in Bath. That I thought, I'm not going to play football anymore. That's it. It's going to all be rugby. And I've been playing rugby for 9 years now. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So, Palmsy, bit of a two-pronged question this, but obviously you play in the Women's Northern One, which is the division below the Premiership and the top level of rugby. The two-pronged question is, one, do you feel the pressure on a match day? And two, how do you deal with it?
Yeah, definitely. I think when I played at university, because I was introduced to a higher standard then, that's when I was a lot more nervous because I felt like I had to constantly prove playing at a high standard. But I think as the more that you get on, the more you learn how to deal with your nerves and what your match routine might be. So playing for Barnsley, the way that I deal with the nerves is I make sure I get up early. I make sure that I'm not kind of just sitting around twiddling my thumbs waiting for the game. Make sure I get early. I like to go out for a walk in the morning with my dog to kind of clear my head a little bit. Make sure I get there on time, because if not, you're rushing around in the changing rooms. And something that I do is I actually warm up myself before, I might warm up individually before the team warm up. So for example, when I played hooker a little bit more, I might go out and throw the ball at the goalpost just to relax, and just so you get that time to think, oh, I've already done it once, so once we get into the warm up, it'll feel better each time. So I think just having a bit of a steady head in the morning, not rushing around, making sure that you're prepared. And when you get there, have a bit of a laugh with your mates in the changing room. And then once you get out warming up, that's when it's pretty serious. And I think if you, in the last 10 minutes before the game, before the warm up, if you have a high intense contact warm up, I think that always makes you feel better. So what we do at Barnsley is we might do a bit of a run through with a team, and we might put a bit of contact in there, so it feels like you've already tackled somebody before you actually get out there and play. So that's how I deal with that.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Excellent. And, obviously, so you've got a lot of experience in rugby, the highs of promotion, but also some challenging and some lows as well. So you sustained a really bad injury not so long ago. Can you tell us a little bit more about it and how you kind of dealt with that, and kind of the road to recovery and ultimately coming back to rugby as well?
Yeah, so it was a terrible injury. I broke my arm in 3 places. And when it happened, I kind of looked at my arm when it looked like a banana at the time. Looked at it and I thought, you know what, should I still play rugby? I'm not sure. But then when I started missing it again, I thought, oh, I'm going to have to just get back into it and slowly ease my way back into it. So the way that I did it, where I kept involved with training. Obviously, I didn't train. I just kept involved, did a little bit of coaching, make sure that I went to match days. And then when I was fit enough, I actually started going to CrossFit because I felt like it were a real challenge to take on. Started going to the gym a bit more. So it was it was just a really steady recovery, even though I went to CrossFit. That were a bit intense to say that I just broke my arm, but it was a steady, slow recovery. And then when I played my first game, I was on the bench. I think I only played for about half an hour, and I kind of went into the mindset of if I go in nervous about the injury, then it's just going to make my performance worse. So I kind of just thought, right, forget about the injury. If I let that play on my mind, I'm not going to play as well as I used to. And then after that first game, just kind of felt natural to play again. So I think it's just having a positive mindset and not letting the injury affect you too much mentally more than physically.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who's also had such a bad injury?
The advice that I'd give would probably be like what I said, stay involved. There's loads of other ways that you can stay involved with your team. It doesn't have to just be playing. It can be helping out with training, so you might want to get a bit of coaching experience. It can be helping out on match day, so filling up water bottles, helping out with the kits and things like that, and cheering on the sideline. So I think just making sure that if you get injured, don't detach yourself from the team. Make sure that you're still involved, even if you can't, like I said, if you can't do something physically, you can still rock up and chat to your teammates and things like that. So that's advice that I'd give, definitely.
Yeah, and I know you're very mentally tough, Palms, and you know you needed to play rugby. I find that female athletes are a lot more open and honest about talking about mental health and discussing, you know, the importance of, you know, sharing if you're feeling down. Is mental health something that you would talk about with your teammates?
Yeah, definitely. So like you said, I think in women's sport, it seems to be that, and women in general seem to want to open up a lot more about mental health. In terms of rugby, it's a very open platform, really. So we're all on like a WhatsApp group, we're all on a Facebook group, and we'll openly talk about mental health. And especially in this lockdown, we've been reminiscing around what we've missed the most with rugby and interacting with each other and the social side. And it is something that we do talk about a lot, and we're always sharing things on our Facebook page around mental health. We've got a project in Barnsley called Project 14, which is a project to remember somebody who actually committed suicide at the club in the men's team. So we're really active in promoting things around mental health, and we take it really seriously as a club. And it's always, like I said, it's always very open with us. We'll talk about it in a WhatsApp chat where there's about 25 girls in the group. So it's always something that we keep in mind and that we share, definitely.
Yeah. And it's just having that accountability, isn't it? That it sort of stays in the WhatsApp group. Yeah, we need to share it, but it's got to be tight knit, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, decent.
Sort of moving away from rugby, Palms, and looking at your educational journey. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you went to Northumbria to study a degree in sports coaching, followed by a PGCE at the University of Huddersfield. Sort of, what made you want to go down that sport-specific path? Because obviously, as teachers in sport and stuff, and working in sport, we've all had something that sort of clicked to make us go down that path. What was that for you?
I think the reason I always knew I wanted to be a teacher, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to teach. And then when I actually started off at college doing, I think it was like a media course or something, and I thought to myself, why am I doing this? And I saw my friends outside playing football and having a laugh, and I thought, right, I'm going to swap over to sport. And as soon as I went to Barnsley College and did sport, it made me realise how much I loved college and loved doing sport at college, and I thought I definitely want to teach at that age group, whether it be sport or anything. So I think it were doing a BTEC sports course myself that made me realise that I wanted to be a teacher in sport, definitely.
Great. So again, that's something.
Oh, sorry, Neil.
So again, that's something you could say is massively applicable to the students we teach, and sort of using their own BTEC experience to kind of guide them.
Definitely. And I think when you're, especially at Club Doncaster Sports College, you go and you have such a great time and you have so many great experiences. I think it would inspire anybody to to want to be a teacher in sport because of the experiences that the students have.
Thank you.
How did you find university life, especially studying and playing away from home?
University life, wow. Absolutely amazing. I'd always advise people to move away from home if they can, because it gives you more life experience as well as your studies as well. And I think as well, if you do play sport and you are serious about playing it at a decent standard, going to university is one of the best things that you can do, because there's so many opportunities to improve yourself and actually become an athlete. Like before I went to college, at university, I kind of thought, oh, I play rugby, I enjoy it, but it kind of was that level up at university where you've got specialist coaches, it becomes a big part of your routine. At university, it's all part of your character building as well, and your social circles. So I think going to university was probably at Northumbria what best decision that I ever made, and it's definitely made me who I am today and allowed me to be a better person and a better athlete as well. So it was a really good experience.
Did you have many choices, or were you dead set on Northumbria?
I applied for, I think it was Leeds, Northumbria and Lincoln, and I didn't get into Leeds and I weren't right sure on Lincoln, and then Northumbria were just somewhere where I thought, I've never been to Newcastle that much, it's somewhere far away, I'm just going to take a risk and I'm just going to go. I went to one open day and I thought, right, I'm just gonna go for it. And I think sometimes you might think that you're taking a risk, but I think wherever you go, you're going to have a great experience. But like I said, I would advise to move away if you can afford it, if it's doable for you, definitely.
Class.
Kind of moving further on in terms of your career and stuff, Sarah, you're currently obviously working with the NHS and Wakefield College. Seems quite a rewarding kind of job. Can you tell us a little bit more about kind of your day-to-day stuff, what you do at the minute?
Yeah, so I'm a teacher and a coordinator on a project called Project Search, and it's for people with learning needs and autism, and it's usually based in the NHS at Wakefield, where the students all have a placement in the NHS. So they might do things like catering, cleaning, portering, and things like that. And it's basically the whole programme is a year programme for them to gain work experience, to get a job. And it's for companies out there in Yorkshire and across England to realise that they can employ people with learning needs and autism, and that they can do a great job, and that we need to be more inclusive, really. So it's a great project, and like you said, really rewarding. Yeah.
So in terms of like this current lockdown, how have you been managing to keep yourself not only physically fit but mentally fit also?
So I've been doing a lot of walking, a lot of dog walking with my friend who's got a dog as well, going on runs when it's not snowing, because it's been snowing loads, hasn't it? Going on runs, doing home workouts. We've started doing a Zoom workout with my rugby team as well on a Wednesday night. So I've been doing that quite a lot, just keeping active. I think sometimes as well, you've got to realise you don't have to absolutely blast and go on a run and do really intense workouts. Just going for a nice long walk's just as good sometimes. So not putting too much pressure on yourself to do these intense workouts. It's just as good to go out for a walk and talk to your friends and keep in touch.
Brilliant. And kind of what kind of advice would you give to a young Sarah Palmer, kind of college age, 16 to 19, about kind of the pressures and kind of career advice? What sort of stuff would you say to a younger version of you now, looking back on stuff?
For career advice, I think I went down a really good path anyway. But one thing that I would say is get more work experience in different kind of settings. So on most university courses or college courses, you'll be expected to do so much work experience. But I'd always say try and do more if you can. So it really gives you that variety to think, oh, I actually would rather do this, or I don't know if I'd prefer to do this, or I want to have a go at this. So I think I would definitely say do a lot more around actually going out there and getting the experience, because you'll learn a lot in your classrooms and things like that, but I think going out there is a lot more important. Throwing yourself in deep end a bit, even though it's a bit scary and a bit nerve-wracking, just go for it.
And again, what about kind of like the mental and health and well-being kind of side of things? You know, obviously you've got a lot of life experience now, both playing rugby and career and stuff, and the pressures of both of that. How would you kind of guide someone or kind of say back to your younger self about how to deal with them kind of pressures and stuff?
I think it's just making sure that you get that balance right. If you're playing rugby, or if you're playing any sport, making sure that you take the sport seriously, but you also enjoy the other sides of it. Even if you're playing at a pretty good standard, you want to make sure that you're getting the most out of it socially. The advice that I'd give to myself about that side, there's not much I can give, because I kind of really grasped onto that social side, and I lived with the people that I played rugby with. But advice that I'd give to just look after your mental health during your studies would be to make sure you get that balance right. Enjoy your sport just as much as you enjoy your studies, and don't let one override the other, really.
That's excellent points. I can't have you here without talking about the Six Nations.
I want to talk about Saturday.
We'll not talk about England and Ireland, but I'm seeing over the last 8-9 years that the female game is now getting a lot more publicity, a lot more in the media.
Yeah.
You know, why do you think that is, and what more can be done to get female rugby, female sport in particular, into the focus?
I think you're right. I think it is becoming a lot better, and people seem to be talking about it and promoting it more. But I think if everyone knows about, let's say, the Women's Six Nations, and why can't you find a Facebook post? Why can't you share it? Talk about it with people that might not know much about it. Just making sure that you're promoting it yourself and doing your part, because I think it's very easy for even me just to look at when the fixtures are, but is there something out there that I can share that so people are more aware about it? And I think we're coming so far in women's sport. If you see the women's football, that's becoming massive now, and they're getting a lot more recognition from like famous brands. So a friend who I used to play football with, Beth England, she's promoting Adidas at the moment, and I think there's so much more. There's a bigger journey for women's rugby to come, and it is becoming more prominent in social media, definitely. But I think if we all know about it, if we can all do our part and just share a little bit on Facebook, and talk to people more about the sport, then I think the word of mouth is the better way sometimes, and it makes people more aware of what's actually going on with women's rugby, and it is becoming more professional. And these Premiership teams in the women's rugby and in the Championship, they're getting people to video them, they're putting it on YouTube, they're sending out Facebook links to watch games. So I think just really getting the word out there as much as we can.
Yeah. Pause. It's been great to catch up. We've really appreciated your input, your honesty around your injury, the journey that you've went on to to get where you are, the success that you've had in rugby. Hopefully we'll be back playing rugby. Hopefully you'll be back playing rugby, and we'll be back, watching live sports soon. Yeah. All good. Thank you again, Sarah. It's been really good. And until next time, thank you.
The best, Palms.
Thank you very much.